The National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, is who writes and certifies the fire safety codes that every commercial building must follow in order to open and remain open. Feeding off of that, per the National Fire Alarm and Signaling Code, or NFPA 72, every commercial building is required, not recommended, required to have a fully functional and operational fire alarm system. It is a life safety system, which is a necessity to keep the building open. Unfortunately, most building owners don't appreciate the protection they get from their fire alarms and would much rather just have them gone because of how much someone heats something up, such as popcorn, in the break room, and it causes false alarms. As well as an insubordinate student in high school, which we know there are quite a few of nowadays, who decide they're going to act like irresponsible 8-year-olds and use a pull station to be malicious. Which, if anything, tells us the fire alarm systems aren't the problem, and businesses and schools need to be more concerned with what led their staff and students to cause the false alarm rather than the annoyance of the AVs. Inevitably, the problem falls on you. Building owners, let's say your fire alarm system was taken out. The reality is, that right there would be the biggest liability check that ever falls into your hands. Because if and when a fire breaks out, nobody's going to evacuate because the fire alarm system couldn't warn them that there was a fire there. And even if not for that, the next time a fire marshal walks into your building and he sees either no fire alarm system at all, or your fire alarm system having been powered down or disabled, this also includes the monitoring dialer, he will write you and your building up immediately and give you a very short time frame to correct everything with the criteria that you have to meet to get the building reinstated and not condemned. So not only does liability play the biggest role into why your building can't be without a fire alarm system, but it also saves you lots of legal trouble with the fire marshal regarding code and keeping your building open. Please do the smart thing, train your staff, and make it clear that they need to be vigilant of their cooking in the break room because it falls on them and you, not the fire alarm system or fire marshals, if someone is accidentally burning popcorn all the time and causing the alarms to go off. That staff member needs to be taught, first of all, how to properly cook popcorn and or just not be allowed back in the break room. Also, here's an extra heads up that I know nobody is going to like, but it has to be said. This doesn't just include building owners or managers. This is important information for everybody. As stupid as it may sound, you will be grateful you listened to this and put it into practice. Really, this should be common sense, but it seems to have fallen out of proportion with most people. If the fire alarms in the building you're occupying go off for any reason, even if you clearly can see or know that it's a false alarm, you need to evacuate the building. Why? Well, one, simply to be safe and smart. Your job or any amount of profit you bring in or those Air Jordans you want to buy at the mall will never hold more importance than your life. But also, built into all modern-day fire alarm control panels, with the exception of the old conventional Honeywell and Simplex brand ones, there is a mandatory phone dialer installed. That dialer calls out to a monitoring center when the alarm sounds to dispatch the fire department. And if the fire department gets there and not every single person that was occupying the building has evacuated, they won't mention it to your face, but once they leave, the first call they're going to make is to the closest fire marshal, and that fire marshal will be making a visit very shortly after to write the building up for failure to follow fire evacuation procedures. To those of you building/business owners who've completely ignored everything I've just said and still believe fire alarms are stupid, you're hearing this from a NICET certified fire alarm system inspector, formerly a technician, who in order to do the job I'm paid to do has to know all of this information and even in a lot of cases relay this information to people like you on a daily basis to make sure people stay safe and buildings stay open. So put on your big boy britches and start being the solution to the problem. That is not a matter of disabling your fire protection, but a matter of proper knowledge to you and your staff about how to prevent false alarms. And in other scenarios, not being lazy when it comes to disciplining kids who thinks it's funny to waste everyone at school's time and find themselves in juvie detention centers for maliciously using a pull station. Do better. You'll find yourself in much better circumstances if you do. Thank you.